All right, everyone, we're going to get started. We are going to be talking today about your new staff device and how you can leverage that and take advantage of that and use it for your teaching and instruction. We have a fairly simple agenda today, quick little welcome and intro, and then we're going to go through this slide deck. I am probably going to go through the slide deck. I'm probably not going to go through the slide deck and do a lot of things live. Just because it's a little bit easier, but you do have the bit.ly now with the slide deck, and it's got all of the resources and everything that I'm going to show you. So you will have that access to that later. And the recording of today's Lunch and Learn and the slide deck will be posted at the DLC website. And then we'll have some time for question and answer at the end. So let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the hardware on your computer. Because I find that there's a lot of things that people don't know about and we don't know about as the computer first came out. So we're going to talk a little bit about the hardware. Some of this I can't show you. I've got some pictures only because I can't turn my webcam onto the actual physical computer itself. So I've got some pictures here to guide you through that. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is if you look at your keyboard, in the top left corner, you should see your escape key. And you might see a little light right here on the escape key. If that light is lit up, that means that your function lock button is turned on. And what that means is you cannot use your F1, F2, F3 buttons across the top as what the pictures show. And I know I like to use these buttons for the volume. F2 is volume down and F3 is volume up. So I like to use those buttons as the volume, but if that light is on the escape button, I can't use it. So to turn that off, you press and hold the function button and the escape button at the same time. And then that will turn that off and you'll be able to use those buttons as what the pictures show. For instance, over here is like the screen brightener down and screen brightener up. And instead of the F keys. So just a helpful little tip if some people have been wondering why their volume keys or their brightener keys don't work, that might be why. So next, we'll talk a little bit about the webcam, just because this is one of the other biggest questions we get. Take a second and run your finger along the top front edge of your laptop computer, and you should feel a little teeny tiny button. That is the little slider button that blocks and opens your webcam. If you see a red dot, so for instance, in this image here, if you see a little red dot, that means your webcam cover is closed. You probably see a light right here next to that. That means your webcam is on right now. If you don't see the light, it means it's closed as well. So feel free to, play around with that, slide that cover left and right to close and open your webcam. And that way, I know a lot of people used to do the old school, put a sticky note or a sticker or a piece of tape covering their webcam. You don't have to worry about that anymore. You can just use that little slider to close it when you don't want to use your webcam. And like I said before, if you see the little red dot, that means that your webcam is closed and blocked. Okay. And again, as Sadie already mentioned, please throw questions in the chat. They'll be monitoring that. And if you need me to repeat something or explain something again, we can certainly do that. Okay, moving on. Wanted to talk a little bit about the stylus, because this is an awesome feature with the new laptops. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how to use it actually later. But if you look, this is a view of the right side of your laptop where the power button is. One little trick that I've heard, if you look at the arrow keys on your keyboard, the right arrow key points directly to the power button. So just kind of a neat little trick. But right in front of that is where your stylus is, where this number 1 is. That is your stylus. Now, your stylus, it's not one of those where you push it to pop it out, if you know what I mean. You just kind of got to hook it with your finger and pull. I usually put my fingernail below it and kind of hook it and pull. And again, I wish I could demonstrate that for you, but I can't keep showing you with my webcam what I'm doing physically on my computer. But if we can, show a little bit more later. how to do that. But like I said, you don't push it to pop it out. You just kind of hook it and pull, and then you will have the stylus, which is this picture here at the bottom. One point I want to make is definitely keep it docked when you're not using it. One, it charges it. That's actually how it stays charged. Secondly, so you don't lose it. I know I've got a really bad habit about putting pens everywhere I go, and I know I would do the same with my stylus. So definitely keep it docked while you're not using it. If you go to put the stylus back in the computer and it doesn't fit, just spin it a little bit till you get the orientation right, and then it should slide right in. If you have to push too hard, probably not quite the right orientation. And like I said, we're going to come back to the stylus later because there's a few tools that I want to show you that you can use and with the stylus to really take advantage of the device. All right, next, we are going to go to some of the settings. Now, we don't often get a lot of questions about these, but once I show them to people, they're like, oh, thank you. That is how I changed that. I couldn't figure it out. So I like to go over these settings just so people know what things are available to customize their computer. That's one of the first things I did when I got my device was I went through the settings and I changed things to make it how I like it. Now, some of these settings are personal preference. There's no one right or wrong way to do it. So just keep that in mind. I'll show you how to change the settings, but you can choose which settings you want to turn on or off or whatever. All right, so this is one of those things I'm going to go live for. So I'm actually going to switch over. I'm going to stop presenting for just a second. And hey, everyone. And I'm going to present my entire screen. And I'm going to make sure I present this one over here and share and hide. And let me exit out of full screen. So Sadie and Chris, confirm for me, you should see my blue flowers on my desktop background, correct?
Yes, we're good to go.
Right. Perfect, thank you.
And don't forget, everyone, really quick, just make sure if you do have a question as Katie's going through, make sure you pop that question in the chat so we can make sure we get an answer for you.
Awesome, thank you, Sadie. Okay, so right now you're seeing the desktop, the background of my computer, what we call the desktop. And one of the settings I like to change first is come down here to the black strip at the bottom of your screen. This is called the taskbar. You'll notice mine probably looks a little bit different from yours because like I said, I've already customized mine. So what you do is if you come down to the taskbar and you right click, you are going to be faced with a ton of options. I don't play with a lot of these at first. I'm just going to show you a couple of the ones that I change. So the first thing that I change is up here at Cortana. Cortana is this little circle icon, and you might have a text box right there next to her. She is the Windows equivalent of Siri. So she's like the little help assistant. I don't use her a ton. So rather than have the big giant search box right there, I right click on my taskbar and I come up to Cortana and I only show the icon. So now you'll notice it only shows that little circle. That's just my preference. You might like the big search bar, or you might want to hide her completely. Totally up to you. So that's one helpful feature that you might want to change. Like I said, there's other options here that you're welcome to play around with on your own. You know, what to do with your toolbars, what to do with your windows, your keyboards, things like that. These three options right here have to do with the bottom right part of your taskbar. So, you know, you can play with those if you want. If you ever get to a point where your taskbar, you're trying to move something down here, or something's, you know, you're trying to move it, but it's not going on, it probably has to do with this right here, that locking of your taskbar. So if you right click and unlock that, that might help you out if you need to. Okay, the other thing that you can do is rather than right click on your taskbar alone, you can right click on the individual icons that are on your taskbar. So for instance, if I right click, this is Snip and Sketch, which is like a screenshot tool within Windows. If I right click on that, the top half of my menu that comes up are options specific to the app that I right clicked on. But what I want you to focus on is the bottom half. And these are consistent no matter what app I right click on. You'll notice I get close window, unpin, and the name of the app. Close window, unpin, the name of the app. Same thing for here. What I want to point out to you is this unpin from Taskbar. When you first got your computer, you had some icons on here that you probably won't use. For instance, there's one that looks like a little shopping bag. That's the Microsoft store. I don't really ever go there. I unpinned it. Same thing for Microsoft Edge. I don't use that. I use Chrome. So I unpinned Edge and just cleared up that space on my taskbar. In addition, I can go into my start menu, and if I find an app that I want on my taskbar, so for instance, whatever this Paint 3D is, I can right click there, go to more, and go to pin to taskbar, and that will keep that icon right down here if it's something I use frequently. So just a nice way to get your icons that you use frequently down in your taskbar for quick access.
All right. Hey, Katie, we have a quick question.
Yep.
The question was from Lisa, and it says, I had a teacher mention that her taskbar disappeared. How do you get it back?
My first instinct is to have her move her mouse down at the bottom where the taskbar should be. And if it pops up, then what she has is a setting turned on where it only appears on hover. And from there, you can right click on it and go to Taskbar Settings. And I believe it's one of these hide the taskbars. You might have to play with which one. And then Jen Bell, thank you. That was going to be my second instinct, is that they might be in tablet mode. And Chris, I see you both put in tablet mode. And so, you know, so they might be locked in tablet mode, which is what we're going to talk about next. And so that would be the other setting you're going to want to check. Other than that, I couldn't say for sure without playing around. And so, you know, that would be, she could put in a heat ticket to the help desk. So hopefully those two options might have helped. One thing to point out too, and since Linda just mentioned locking the taskbar, I just forgot, if you unlock your taskbar, one cool thing is you can click it and drag it. So if I click and hold my taskbar, I can drag it to the left or the right or the left or even the top of my screen. Just kind of a personal preference for you there of a little customization. I like mine on the bottom just because I'm used to it. But I'm gonna go back and lock my taskbar so I don't move it again. All right, so I'm gonna go back to my my slide deck here so we can keep on track, because I could get off task and talk about the wrong things for a while. The next thing we're going to talk about is some security features you can turn on. And again, just because I want to double check that I'm always sure Sadie and Chris, you guys can see the slide deck back on my screen, right?
Yes, so we're good to go.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the security features that you can turn on. The first one is about how to set up the fingerprint lock. And so to do that, in the bottom right corner of your screen, this is one way to do it. This is how I do it. You're going to click that little speech bubble icon, and that's going to take you to the settings for your computer. So again, I'm going to go live here for a second. So you click this little speech bubble, and then you click in this bottom right corner, all settings. And that brings me to my settings. Now from there, the first one we're going to look at is the fingerprint, which you can do one of two things. You can search here, or I gotta remember, or excuse me, you can search fingerprint here, or you can go to accounts and then go to sign-in options on the left. And once you're in the sign-in options on the left, you can go to fingerprint, which is right here. Now you'll see mine says add another. Yours will say something like add fingerprint or whatever. And what that does is if you look on your computer, on your physical computer, look in the middle below the space bar where your touchpad is to move your mouse around. And you look to the right of that, there's a tiny little square that looks almost like a little tiny mini touchpad. That is actually a fingerprint sensor that you can use to unlock your device when you step away from the computer. So normally right now, if your computer goes to sleep or you turn on the screensaver, whatever, you type in your password to unlock it, you can turn on your fingerprint sensor. So you would click add fingerprint and it'll walk you through the steps. It has you move your finger a bunch of times on the little sensor to record your fingerprint. Then it will also have you add a PIN. Now, the PIN can be anything you want. My recommendation is to check this little box that says include letters and symbols, because then what you can do is make your PIN the same password you use to log into the computer. And that way you don't have to remember one more PIN or password. So that's what I did. I just checked this box to include letters and symbols and made my PIN my password. Every now and again, it gets finicky where I try to scan my fingerprint and it's like, no, sorry. And then I just have to type in my PIN. A funny story, the other day I was doing something with my daughters and I got some super glue on my finger and it actually wouldn't read my fingerprint. So I had to type in my PIN that day as well. So, you know, so that's just a little security feature. You can have more than one fingerprint. So if you want to do like your 2 index fingers, for instance, you can do that as well. All right, the second security feature that I wanted to show all of you, and this is extremely important when you are in an environment with other people, like at school, is to use your Windows key plus the L button to lock your computer. And what that does is it just puts it, you know, in your login window so that as you walk away from it, we have access to sensitive data on our computers and we don't want kids or other people being able to access our computers if we just walk away and leave them unlocked. So if you look on your keyboard to the left of the space bar, you should see that Windows button. If you press the Windows button L, that will lock your computer and you just type your password in or use your fingerprint to unlock it when you come back. It's just a good habit to get in. Bar Vinyl has helped me get in that habit this year especially, just to keep our data and all of our things secure. Okay, this is a little bit of a fun setting, one that I don't spend a lot of time on just because it seems to be the one people figure out the fastest and the easiest, just because we love our customization. But if you do want to change the background of your desktop, again, you're going to click that speech bubble to get to the settings. You'll click the all settings button and you can search background, or you can click personalization in that settings window. And then, oh, I thought that had another screen there, but basically you click personalization. And then on the left, you can change your background to a picture, change your colors for your theme, your lock screen, your themes, fonts, all kinds of things. So that's kind of the fun one that lets you just customize what your computer looks like. And like I said, people tend to figure that one out pretty quickly as they put the pictures of their families and their pets and things, maybe the beach on the background of their computer. All right. So let's now go into talking about tablet mode and how we can start to use our device for instruction and use some of these features. Hopefully you know your device has a 360-degree hinge, which means you can flip your lid all the way around so that it's like a tablet. I know that's scary. A lot of people worry about doing that. Unless you're, you know, wrenching on it the wrong way, you can't really break it. So very gently, you can flip your screen around into a tablet mode. Now, depending on what settings you have set up, you might get a bubble, a little pop-up in the bottom right corner that asks you what you want to do when you flip that screen around. So it's going to ask you if you want to go to tablet mode, stay in desktop mode, or ask every time, I think, are your choices. The biggest difference between tablet mode and desktop mode is kind of like we were talking about earlier. In tablet mode, your taskbar, that black strip at the bottom, goes away, and your desktop is arranged a little bit differently, more like icons, kind of like a tablet, as opposed to a desktop. So things just look a little bit different and act a little bit different. Instead, like, instead of double clicking, you'll tap, things like that. To change those settings, you can go to your speech bubble, go to that all settings again, and you can either search tablet mode, or you can click on system and go to tablet mode on the left. So I'm going to show you that again. I clicked the chat bubble, I clicked all settings, and I can come over here. I can search tablet mode up at the top, or I can just click system and go to tablet mode here on the left. Now, I have it, my personal preference is that when I flip to tablet mode, I don't have it ask, I just have it automatically switch. You can set it to always ask, and you can set it to don't ask and don't switch at all. You want it to continue acting like a desktop or a laptop and not ask you at all. Again, these are some of those settings that are personal preference. I just want to show you how they, where they are so you can set them. The other two big changes you can decide on what you want is whether you want to hide app icons on the taskbar and automatically hide the taskbar. So again, I keep both of those off because I personally still like my taskbar even when I'm in tablet mode, and I use it quite a bit. Chris, do you want to throw something in there, please?
I believe that Kevin Harvey might have said that it's a good idea to not uncheck always ask, because what can happen is if you don't get asked, it can be hard to get it back. Do you recall him saying that?
I don't, but that's a very good point. So, I feel confident that if I lose it, I can get it back. But if you're not as confident, then yeah, you might definitely want to leave it so that it always asks you, and that way you don't have to worry about that. Sadie?
Thanks, Katie. Ina asked, how do you get it out of tablet mode?
If you are in tablet mode?
Correct.
Okay, so you're in tablet mode. If you did not change this setting that I'm talking about right now, and you unflip your screen so it looks back like a laptop, kind of the reverse of putting your screen around so it's in tablet mode, then it should pop back into desktop mode, or it should ask you whether you want to switch back to desktop mode. If it doesn't, then that's kind of what Chris Zirkle was just talking about. You'd have to go back into your settings and remind me, Chris and Sadie, really quickly, is that right in here? Thank you. So yeah, you click that settings button and you click this icon here that says tablet mode versus not. I know we can help you out here in a minute or at the end if that did not work for you. But hopefully just flipping it back physically, like your physical screen, turning it back into a laptop, that that should automatically flip it as well. Okay. All right. So the reason why I love the tablet mode in the computer, or for the computer, is because of the combination of the touch screen, the stylus, and a couple of tools that are really helpful to use with tablet mode. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Google Keep. Google Keep is one of the lesser known Google Suite tools, and it's a really, really great organizational tool. It's a great place to keep notes. And so I'm just going to show you how I leverage that with my stylus and with my, when putting it in tablet mode. You don't have to put it in tablet mode to write on your screen with the stylus, but that's just nice because then you can have it flat on your desk. And one thing I also want to point out that the touch screen is smart. And if you rest your hand on the area where you write, it does not make a mark. So unlike smart boards, where if you rest your hand while you're trying to write, it'll write where your hand is, the computer screen is smarter and only writes where your stylus is. So, so that's just one advantage. One quick note as well, anywhere you see in the presentation this little link icon, that is a link out. I have linked the kite course for Google Keep if you want to take that later. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go live to Google Keep. There's a couple of ways you can do that. You can type in your URL, keep.google.com, or you can go up to your waffle when you're in like your Drive or on Google, click your waffle and click the Keep icon. It's the yellow light bulb. So I'm going to go to keep.google.com, and you'll see my Keep notes here. I have all of my Keep notes. And like I said, it's just a really great organizational tool for you to use, you know, to keep reminders and things like that. So at the top, you'll see where you can just take a note. And if you click that, you can just start typing, you know, take a note, whatever. Plan for unit 2, remember to order the guppies. That was that was a unit we did in 5th grade. So like I said, taking notes. Along the bottom, you have quite a few different options. You can set a reminder. Depending on how you feel, there's a feature that's either really, really cool or really, really creepy. And that is, not only can you set a reminder by date so that it reminds you of that at a certain day and time, you can also set a reminder by place. So for instance, if you are one of those people like me, and when you're driving home from work, you say, okay, I gotta remember to stop and get milk, but you never remember as you're driving by the grocery store, you can set it so that it'll remind you when you're near the grocery store. Now you do have to have location services turned on for that. And like I said, you might find that a little creepy and don't want to use it. Totally okay, but it's just kind of a neat little feature. You can also add collaborators to a Keep note. So if you work with your with a team, you can have more than one person add to a Keep note. You can change the color to kind of color code things. You can also add an image. You'll notice that on my Keep notes here, I have added images at the top. I just created those in Google Drawing just to kind of draw my attention to those so that I remember these are my big Keep notes that I have to pay attention to. And so you can, yeah, you can add images at the top. Here is another example of a Keep that I did. I didn't want to try to take the time to type in that information to remember. I just screenshotted it and put it as an image attached to that Keep note. All right, so hopefully everybody is seeing my Keep again. And I just saw the question of Janisha. All I did was I created an image in Google Drawing. I'm not going to get into that too much right now because that's kind of getting off topic a little bit, but that's certainly something we can help you with individually. But basically, I created an image in Google Drawing. I downloaded it as a JPEG, and I just inserted it as an image at the top of my Keep note. So that's how I kind of get the banners there at the top. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to delete this Keep note because I want to show you how you can take advantage of your stylus and tablet mode. And again, like I said, you don't have to be in tablet mode to draw on your screen, but it's just nice if you like to draw, you know, lay your screen flat and draw or whatever. Okay, up here at the top, instead of clicking take a note, I'm going to come over here to do a new note with drawing. And now you'll see it takes me into the drawing screen. Up at the top, I have some different tools. I have my eraser, I have my pen, my marker, my highlighter. And if I click the arrows next to each of those, I can change the thickness and the color. And so, you know, just different writing options. And one really cool thing is I can change the background of my drawing. So I like to write on lined paper. And I'm going to come over here and click my pen, and I want to write in blue. And right now I know you can't see me, but I'm using my stylus. And I am taking a Keep note, and I am just writing on my screen. I see Deborah asked, do students have these drawing tools on their Chromebooks? They do. Students do have access to Keep. They don't have the stylus is the only kind of difference, but they can use their finger instead. So one thing I'm going to point out though is there's another tool I'm going to show you here in a minute that might be better for students to use instead of Keep. This is just a really great productivity tool. Not that students couldn't use it, especially older students, but if you're thinking more about drawing and doing explanations, we'll get into that in a minute. We've got our note here. We've got our words. Like I said, you've got your different features. I've got my marker, which looks really similar to a pen. Not quite sure. You know, again, you can change the thickness of it so that it's a little bit different. Highlighter is just like it sounds. It looks like a highlighter. So if I want to highlight something, you know, I can do that. I can also grab, if I come over here to this dotted square button, I can grab a whole section and move it around. So if I decide I want to move that. I personally am a visual brainstormer. I like to write. And so this really helps me as I'm brainstorming and I want to move my ideas around, that I can really do that fairly easily. My eraser tool, I love this because I can just draw a line through what I want to erase. I don't have to like erase every little bit, or I can just click on it and it kind of erases each little piece. So little features there. I'm going to come back over here to my marker, my pen tool, and just write some other things. Test the keep drawing, you know, to test it. Because now what I want to show you is, let me erase this. What I want to show you is if I hit this left arrow, that takes me back to my keep note. And so now what they have basically done, they have taken that drawing that I did and added it as an image at the top of my keep note. One really cool feature is if I come to these three dots right here and click that, I can grab the image text. And now all the stuff that I wrote is in text form and I can copy and paste it into a document. Love the productivity, love the workflow with Keep. Like I said, I'm a visual brainstormer, so I write and then I just translate that into text and drop it into the document that I want it in where I want to edit the text. One thing, caveat, is if you do, like for me, I do a lot of bubble maps. It doesn't translate that as well into the text just because it doesn't know, you know, all the different circles and organization. So the simpler it is, the better, but it still can pull a lot of it out. All right, I see from Kathleen, you were unable to pick up your new computer. Are you able to use any type of writing tool on old computers? Only if your computer is a touch screen. Of course, you can use your mouse or your touchpad. It's just not as easy, if that makes sense. But yes, that should work on most other devices. All right, I'm going to pause there because we're about to switch gears. Does anybody else have any questions or comments about Google Keep using that draw note feature or that drawing feature? And I noticed a while back somebody added that they have it on their phone and everything. I do too. I use Keep on my phone. I share Keep notes between my personal account and my work account. And so that way, if I'm working on my computer, I can type a Keep note, share it with my personal, and that way I can access it on my phone later. If I'm in line at the grocery store, I can type a Keep note, share it with my work account, get that to my work account later. So just a lot of flexibility when you start to pair that up like that. And remember to add a collaborator. It's just that plus sign at the bottom. You'll see, for instance, this one I have shared with Wanda and Juliet, other DLCs, and they can add to that Keep note if they need. If you guys have more questions or comments, you definitely keep adding those to the chat. Chris and Sadie are doing a great job monitoring those, and we will keep an eye out. One caveat really quickly that I want to mention on the stylus that I forgot to mention while I was drawing. If you pull out your stylus and you look at it, it does have two buttons on it. Those do act like mouse clicks. So as you're writing, be careful not to click them because one of them will erase for you as you're writing. And I've too many times been writing and accidentally click and erase part of it. So just be careful to hold your stylus so you're not clicking on the buttons while you're writing. All right, so we're going to switch gears and we're going to come back over here and we're going to talk a little bit now about Google Jamboard. Google Jamboard is a relatively new Google tool. Again, I have linked the Kite course for Google Jamboard in the top right corner if you want to take that later. But basically, Google Jamboard is a whiteboard. It's kind of like a whiteboard slideshow tool that's collaborative, if that makes sense. It lives in your Google Drive, just like all of your other Google Docs and Sheets and things like that. Again, I'm going to go live for this just because it's a little bit easier. So I'm going to go to my Drive, drive.google.com, or you can click the waffle to get there. And I'm going to come over here to the top left corner and I'm going to click New, More, and down here is Google Jamboard. And I'm going to click that to open it up. And it's a very, very, very simple tool. There is not a whole lot you can do with it, but that means it's easy to use and easy to learn. On the left, you'll see some of the same tools that you saw in Google Keep, your pen tool, where you can change the color to a marker, a highlighter, or a brush, your eraser tool, your mouse button, where you can select items. You can add a sticky note. So I can just, add sticky note. I can change the color, hit save, and then I can move that around. I can also add images in. I can search my computer. I can do a Google image search. So maybe I want to do a 10 frame. And look at that. I'm going to insert that 10 frame right there. And now I have that on my, my Jamboard. And this last tool is this little laser that disappears. Okay. So like I said, this is a disappearing mouse, or excuse me, laser pointer. So you can kind of highlight something on your screen and it'll go away. And I just realized, Sadie, my chat got stuck. So a whole bunch of stuff got popped up. Are there any questions I need to address right now?
Yes, we do have several questions. Some of them are referring to Keep and just Google Meet in general. So I'm making note of those questions and then we can individually answer those with messages later.
Okay.
And so let me back up. I'm trying to capture them all and copy at the same time. Somebody asked about the stylus. So what, Jill from Apex, she said, what do the buttons on the stylus do? Because she noticed as she's, practicing that those buttons are there.
So depending on where you're using your stylus and what tool, Jill, those basically act like mouse buttons, left and right mouse click. And I will be honest, I haven't played with them enough to know like what they do in every tool and app. Like I mentioned, when you're in Google Keep or you're writing, one of them acts as like an eraser. I believe that's the right click one. So essentially they're just acting like mouse clicks.
All right, and then let's see. Oh, Linda says she can't see the presentation, but I'm able to see it. Linda, you might just need to refresh and rejoin. And that might help because everything's live. I know sometimes even with mine, I have to restart my computer, but hopefully you can just refresh your screen and rejoin us and you'll be right back into the presentation.
Okay. And then I see a question about Jamboard with Google Classroom. As far as I'm aware, it should cooperate because the nice thing about Google Jamboard is it's collaborative. So it's basically a whiteboard tool that can be collaborative. So more than one student can edit it if you'd like, or you can create kind of like a template, push it out through Google Classroom, and then the kids can, if they have their touchscreen Chromebooks, they can write on it. Or, if they've got a tablet or things, they can write on it and they could show you, for instance, I want to show you how I solve 3/4 plus 1/4. Well, I draw my picture, and they can do all of that. And they can show you their work. And so, it's just a great tool for both you and the kids to use.
And we had another question, Katie, sorry to interrupt.
No,
is there a way to freeze an image on a Jamboard so it can't shift around? Or is there a way to make an image a background like you do in Google Slides?
Yep. So I'm going to clear my frame. This button here is clearing the frame and that gets rid of everything. And I'm going to come up here to background. And that's one option. So depending on what you want, there are some backgrounds where like if you want graph paper, or if you want lined paper or dots, which is really great for geometry, things like that. Unfortunately, there's not a way that I'm aware of to lock it like you can in slides. You can insert, oh, wrong button. You can insert an image like I was telling you about for kids to use, but as far as I'm aware, you cannot lock it so that it doesn't move. So if that is something that's important, you probably will still want to stick with Google Slides.
Yes.
But just like slides, at the top, you can also add multiple pages to a Jamboard. So I'm going to click over here on the right, and I now have a new page. So I could prep a lesson slide deck where I insert an image of a word problem, or I insert a text box with, or a sticky note with a word problem. And then I could use my pages to solve them or to show how to do things. So lots of variability that way. And I see Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, if you use the app, there's a few more features on the app than on the browser version.
Oh, great. Thank you for sharing that. I have not played with the app a whole lot. So that's good to know. I don't want to dive too far into Jamboard just because we could do an entire lunch and learn on that. It's on its own. But I do want to point out that Chris also posted some Jamboard sample activities. And I'm going to do a shout out for Eric Kurtz and Matt Miller at controlaltachieve.com and Ditch That Textbook. They are always posting great templates and things. And maybe if Sadie or Chris could post that in the chat, those two websites, Control-Alt-Achieve and ditchthattextbook.com. They usually have a lot of great templates. I don't know if they have any Jamboard templates yet, but it's definitely worth a look. Oh, and I see Caitlin, I had each child have their own to write for Kinder Friends. It just spun through loading. Wasn't sure if you all had heard anything about it. Yeah, I haven't heard about that, but definitely keep trying because as far as I'm aware, it should work. You know, yeah, like I said, keep trying. And that's something, again, your DLC can help with, or the help desk, you can put in a ticket if something's not working right. All right, so I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to share with Jamboard. Like I said, you can prepare a whole lesson slide deck with this by inserting images. You can even insert an image of text and annotate the text right on here. So lots of cool variability. The last thing that I want to share with you all is, and I'm sorry, really quickly, one thing I forgot to point out is Google Jamboard, your jams do live in your drive, so you can find those and sort them in whatever folder you need, but be sure to name them because by default they are untitled. Just like every Google Doc and sheet is untitled, you want to remember to name them. For some reason, it's not as obvious to me, the naming part, so I always forget to do that in Jamboard. So I just wanted to throw that out there. All right. The last thing that I want to show you before opening it up to some questions is the built-in whiteboard right within your computer, right within Windows. If you come down here to the bottom right corner of your system tray, this little section of your taskbar is called the system tray. This caret here is as well. You'll see, or you should see this icon called Windows Ink Workspace. It looks like a little pen with a line. And Sadie, by the way, just because we are getting towards the end, I know some people might have to join or leave early. We do have a feedback link. We would really appreciate it if you could fill out the feedback link. So we do listen to it, we do read it, we tweak it for the next one to make it better. And so if you have just a couple quick minutes, that would be really helpful. So I don't know who has the feedback, Sadie or Chris, but if you want to throw that in the chat, that'd be great. So anyways, Windows Ink Workspace, you should see this little icon here. It looks like a pen with a little line. If it is not there, you can come over to the left to your start menu and scroll all the way down to Windows, I believe it's Windows Accessories. Oh, no, of course, now I can't remember where it is. Can Sadie or any of the other DLCs or Chris throw out there? Chris, remind me. It is... Of course, I can't find it right at the moment.
If you go to the bottom next to the clock, the time, right next to the clock, I just posted a document with an image of it. It looks like a pen with a swoosh around it.
Right. I was just concerned. I wanted to make sure that if somebody didn't see that icon, if they didn't have it.
Okay. And then you hit Sketchpad.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I think, Katie, I've done a search for it before with the little Cortana. If I type it in the search, I think it comes up.
If you don't have that little icon here, the pen with the line, you come over to your Cortana, not the start bar, you come to that Cortana search bar and you type ink workspace, then you'll see Windows Ink Workspace, and you can enable it, or come up here to apps, not apps, sorry. I just want to make sure Workspace, it should take you right to it. Yeah, that opens up the settings. We'll double check on that. Sorry about that, everyone. You should have the icon. If not, we'll find out how to re-enable that and put that back in there. So when you click on the pen icon, you come up here to Sketchpad. You'll notice you also saw the sticky notes. If you like that feature, that's where you can access that. And basically, you've got just a big giant whiteboard space. What I like about this is you've got a lot of the same features. You've got your pen tool, you've got a pencil tool, a highlighter tool, and your eraser. One really cool feature is you've got a protractor, and if you click this drop down arrow, a ruler. And so if you're doing a geometry unit, you can turn, let's see, I want to turn this ruler. Anyways, but you can put your protractor or your ruler to talk about, okay guys, I'm going to draw my angle. I'm going to start here and I'm going to come all the way over here, and oh, that's a 75-degree angle. So just a lot of really neat features in the Windows white space. You can, of course, like I said, you've got all your drawing tools. You can trash whatever you have on your screen, get rid of your protractor, copy it, save it as an image if you'd like. It does not have the same type of pages like in a slide deck, but you can, excuse me, you can have that space where you can clear it. So lots of different features, lots of different whiteboard tools. It's just really about playing around with what you like best. And the point that I want to end with is that what makes these whiteboard tools really powerful is when you combine them with a tool like Screencastify. So Screencastify is a Chrome extension that records your screen. And now all of a sudden, you've got a whiteboard tool right on your computer, Screencastify, which records your screen. You can now make easy instructional videos. And Screencastify saves all of your videos right in your Google Drive. So all of a sudden, you can now easily post them into your Google Classroom, share them out with your students, and you are now, really taking your virtual instruction to a whole nother level. I know if any of you have seen that viral picture going around of the teacher in her bathroom, in the shower, writing on her shower as a whiteboard while filming herself, no need to do that anymore because you've got this really great whiteboard built in with your screen recording tool. Built in, and that link there is a link to Screencastify, the kite course for that. I'm sorry, excuse me. That's a link to the Chrome extension to install Screencastify. One thing I want to point out, Screencastify is whitelisted for students, which means students can install it as well. And now kids can open up a Google Jam. They can show you how to solve a problem and record it. And now you've got evidence for them of their thinking, and even maybe an artifact for their portfolio. So lots of different ways that you can use it. And again, my chat froze up and I'm scrolling down and seeing all of this. So Sadie, hit me with those questions.
All right, Katie, I think Chris and I and some other DLCs, I think we've answered most of them, but just to reiterate, the screen recording for today that we made will be posted on the DLC website. Yep. And we're going to post that link again to the presentation so that you can fill out the survey at the end and have access to that presentation. We've been pasting it periodically. Someone did want to clarify what the code was for Screencastify. I know they have a free version and it's COVID-something, and they thought it was COVID-19. Can anybody confirm?
I just posted and it looks like Annette has the actual answer. I couldn't remember if it was cast_COVID or COVID_cast, but
yes,
cast_COVID.
Thank you.
Yep.
And next question is, how do I use my laptop to take a screenshot of a large songbook so that the words are not backwards. So Joan, go ahead and turn your mic on and just really quick clarify how you're doing that, if you're holding it up or if you have a digital version of the book, but go ahead and share that with us really quick.
Okay, it's a large first grade music book. And when I turned my computer around to face it, everything showed up backwards.
And you took the picture of it, or the people looking at your?
Oh, I haven't gotten to that. I haven't gotten to that step yet.
Okay.
I just noticed when I turned it and faced the book, then they would be reading it backwards.
Yeah. And any of the DLCs, yeah, Chris, that's a great idea, is if you take a picture with your phone or tablet, and then upload that. I want to say, I can say this for sure, if you take a picture and then you insert it into something like a Slidedeck or Google Drawing, if you flip the image, if it then goes the correct way.
Yeah, I have been doing it the long way, taking an image and uploading.
I missed it.
Oh, sorry. If we can make sure everybody has their microphone muted except for Joan right now. Sorry, Joan, I didn't hear what you said.
I was going to say, I think I did what Chris said. I've been taking it with my phone and then uploading the image. I didn't know if there was a way to do it with my laptop or not.
Yeah, I'd have to play around with it. So Joan, you're actually Wanda and my school. Let's talk a little bit offline and get a little more detail about, are we doing it in a video and an image, and go through those steps for you more specifically. Other questions? All right, we're going to be here for a few more minutes. Feel free to keep typing in some questions. I see a lot of people saying thank you. You are very, very, very welcome. We hope this was helpful. Please remember to fill out that feedback form. That's, like I said, extremely helpful for all of us. And dlc.wcpss.net for all your digital learning needs, and to contact your DLCs to get some more help and to ask some more questions.